History of the Bible. The Bible is a collection of sacred texts and scriptures that are central to the beliefs and practices of Judaism and Christianity. It is divided into two main sections, the Old Testament and the New Testament. Old Testament. The Old Testament, also known as the Hebrew Bible, is the first section of the Bible. It contains the religious texts and writings that were sacred to the Jewish people. The Old Testament is composed of the Pentateuch, 5 books, historical books, 12, poetry and wisdom, 5 books, major prophets, 5 books, and minor prophets, 12 books, which, as you can see, covers a wide range of genres. The Old Testament spans a significant period of time, but the exact dates of composition can vary. The texts within the Old Testament were likely written over a span of centuries, starting as early as the 13th century BCE with some of the earliest parts of the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible, traditionally attributed to Moses. The later books were written over several hundred years, with the latest ones being composed around the 5th century BCE. The Old Testament books were primarily written in Hebrew, with a few portions also in Aramaic. New Testament. The New Testament is the second section of the Bible and is specific to Christianity. It contains the teachings, life, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ, as well as the writings of his apostles and early Christian leaders. The New Testament consists of 4 Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the Acts of the Apostles, Paul's 13 epistles, and 9 general epistles, and the book of Revelation written by apostles Paul, Peter, and John. The New Testament was written over a shorter period compared to the Old Testament, likely spanning from around 50 to 100 CE. The earliest writings in the New Testament are some of the epistles of Paul, while the Gospels were composed a bit later. The New Testament was written primarily in Greek. Authors. The authors of the Bible are diverse, and the exact identity of some authors is still debated among scholars. The traditional attributions of authorship are as follows. Old Testament. The authors of the Old Testament books include various prophets, priests, kings, and other profoundly wise men. Some of the notable figures include Moses, credited with writing the Torah/Pentateuch, Samuel, David, Solomon, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, and others. New Testament. The New Testament authors include the apostles and disciples of Jesus. The Gospels are traditionally attributed to Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. The letters, epistles, are attributed to apostles like Paul, Peter, James, and John. The book of Revelation is attributed to the apostle John. It's important to note that modern biblical scholarship has brought about discussions and debates regarding the precise authorship of certain books, and some books might have multiple contributors. In summary, the Bible is a collection of texts written over many centuries, which covers a wide array of genres and themes. Its Old Testament and New Testament sections are central to the beliefs and practices of Judaism and Christianity, respectively. The authors of these texts include a diverse group of figures, ranging from prophets and kings to apostles and disciples of Jesus. Major theme: God's redemptive plan. The concept of God's redemptive plan refers to the idea that God has a purposeful and unfolding plan to reconcile humanity to himself and to restore the broken relationship between God and humans caused by sin. This theme is woven throughout the entire Bible and is illustrated through various events, characters, and teachings. In the Old Testament, this theme is often seen through God's covenant relationships with individuals and the nation of Israel. The covenant with Abraham, for instance, promises that his descendants will be blessed and will become a great nation through whom all the families of the earth will be blessed. The story of the Exodus and the giving of the law at Mount Sinai demonstrate God's desire to guide and form a people for himself. Throughout the Old Testament, the theme of redemption is presented through prophecies of a future Messiah who will come to bring salvation and restoration. This theme reaches its culmination in the New Testament with the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. In the New Testament, Jesus is presented as the embodiment of God's redemptive plan. His teachings, parables, and actions all emphasize the importance of repentance, forgiveness, love, and reconciliation with God. Jesus' sacrificial death is portrayed as the ultimate act of redemption, providing a way for humans to be reconciled with God by having their sins forgiven and their relationship restored. The Apostles' letters in the New Testament further elaborate on the significance of Jesus' work, emphasizing the transformation that comes through faith in him. The book of Revelation concludes the Bible with a vision of the ultimate fulfillment of God's plan, depicting a new heaven and a new earth where God's presence is fully realized, and humanity's relationship with God is completely restored. While God's redemptive plan is a central theme, the Bible also addresses various other themes such as justice, mercy, obedience, faith, love, wisdom, and the human condition. These themes are explored through a wide range of stories, poems, teachings, and historical accounts, creating a rich and diverse tapestry of spiritual wisdom and guidance.